Like, I was talking to someone and they were like, I don't like believe in children, or having children. And I was like, got it. I was like, global warming, I'm like going for the
got
like
it,
that.
got
No.
it.
And then they go, no, it's because children cannot consent to being born.
Well,
And I was like, that is true, but also, okay.
They can't consent to you wiping their asses, but you have to do it.
there are so many things my
time.
kids don't consent to that's like not even the beginning.
And welcome back. You're listening to Hysteria, the podcast for people who have a very curated close friends list on Instagram. No? Okay. Well, we've got a panel today. Super excited about it. Alyssa is taking a much needed break.
No.
And so, I know, but Josie's here.
Yes, hi.
And we are going to get into a topic that I think is super relevant because all of us are moms. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in our panel. Our first panelist is a comedian and host of That's Messed Up, an SVU podcast. The pod is going on a spooky season tour. Catch them in Denver, Phoenix, San Diego, LA, San Francisco, and Portland this October. All but one have good weather that time of year. Tickets at that'smesseduplive.com. Kara Clank.
Hi, thank you for having me back.
So glad
Always
you're here.
surprised and always happy to be here.
Delighted. Our next panelist is a comedian currently opening for Chelsea Handler. Heard of her? Oh my gosh. On tour. Check out her YouTube show, Sports Bitches. Megan Gailey.
That is a real show, but I also wanted to hear you say sports bitches.
Sports Bitches. Megan Gailey.
Hi.
Why did you want to hear me say Sports Bitches?
Because I want to hear anyone say it. It's just a really funny.
And the way you sound, it was like, it's sports, bitches. Like,
Sports Bitches.
Yeah.
And now moving on to national news. Well, that's great. How did I know you were opening for her this past weekend?
Yes.
How did it go?
Oh, she's so great. And I don't know if any of you follow her, if any listeners do.
I do.
She's been doing a lot of videos leading up to the election, making fun of JD Vance, but then also giving like very great info about reproductive rights. So like she's like having fun, having drinks, but then also doing the work. And it's
yeah.
we have to stand.
I think she's one of the faces of the childless cat lady movement, even though she's a childless dog lady. I think.
And she's living her absolute best life.
Oh my God, skiing naked with a joint. I mean, she's killing it.
Get my kid out of here.
Yeah. She really, you know what? She really does give me a grass is greener sort of feeling sometimes. I'm like, okay, you know what? Life was pretty good before I had kids.
100%.
Maybe not as great as Chelsea Handler's life.
That's the problem.
Has been.
Kids, no kids. I'm not going to be living Chelsea Handler's life, but
Right.
Chelsea Handler with like 6 kids would probably have a better life than I have.
yeah,
No
100%.
kids.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about kids. We have all got
Yeah.
kids. We all are online. We have to be online in a lot of cases because of our jobs. Josie, I'm going to start with you. Do you post pictures of your family and your kids online?
I do. I post them on Instagram. I have stopped posting on Twitter now that Elon Musk runs the show.
Oh, yeah. Get out of there.
Gotta stop.
It's a cesspool.
I do post my kids. I kind of have like because of my work, I'm kind of like militantly try to not be too scared. Like try to not overthink safety and try to not do the thing where I'm scared of everything. So sometimes I'm like, someone could come and steal my kid. And I'm like, but they would immediately return them. Because my kids are annoying. Take them no time. And
Yeah, the black market value of my children has gone way down.
way down. I'm like,
Since they
joke's
learned
on
to talk.
you. Joke is 100% on you. Yeah.
Do you have any rules for yourself, like when you're posting?
Well, okay, so my son is in first grade now, and one of the things that was weird is when I went into his classroom and his one of the other parents recognized me from a different podcast I had done. And then I was like, oh, I actually can't post too embarrassing stuff about a 7-year-old because you're like a real person with friends. And I don't want, like, now I try to post stuff he wouldn't be embarrassed to see, like, in a few years. First day of soccer, first day of school, whatever. But on close friends, as you mentioned, I am a little bit more fast and loose with the embarrassment.
Kara, how about you? Do you have like rules for posting your family and kids?
No, I'm a no holds barred. I post addresses. I drop pins. I want everyone to know. I'm joking. I just like all of my followers are my close friends. I don't have a close friends list at all. I think that's just out of laziness. I post my kids. They have their own Instagram that's private. So that's where I try to put like most of the content about them that's for family and friends, and that's only people I know. In my public, I post them. I try to avoid any signs that show where they go to school or anything like, obviously I'm like not specifics. I try to avoid those. And then I did recently, so a couple of weeks ago, my son took a dump on someone's floor. We're potty training, okay? He took just the biggest dump I've ever seen come out of a child's body on my friend's newly cleaned, of her newly renovated home. And I was like, wow. And then I took the cutest picture of him wearing like a tutu and like a unicorn horn. And I posted a story being like that feel when you just took a huge, or whatever, on someone's floor. And I thought it was funny. And then I immediately got like, oh no, is this like what Josie was talking about? Like, is this embarrassing? He's 3, so he doesn't really have the same.
No rules for 3.
He's not a person quite.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
He truly does not have a friend in the world,
right.
and
he's not capable of embarrassment.
But I did think of it for a second. I was like, oh, is this embarrassing for him? But then I was like, he's so little, I think, but I agree with what you're saying. Like, by the time we get to kindergarten and like my daughter has friends, like, I think I wouldn't like post, this girl just wet the bed or something.
Right.
She doesn't do that. But like,
right.
I'm not trying to shame her. I just thought it was funny, the juxtaposition of like poop to unicorn horn, you know? But I do like have feelings about it, but I'm pretty fast and loose, I would say, with the posting.
How about you, Megan?
I post. His face is out there. I try and be very respectful of other people's boundaries. Like, I have people. I'm an aunt too, and like the 2 of my nieces, like my brother is just like, no, you have too many followers. You know, like he's like, He's like, I'm not even like a crazy person, but like I'm not on television saying insane things. So like, please. And so I am very receptive to other people's boundaries with it. I think my son is 2. And I have more and more started posting like from the back, him doing silly things or just, again, not embarrassing him. I fear more about what I talk about on stage because that is much more lasting. And so, yes, his face has been out there. I really wish I'd not put his name out there. But like when you give birth, you go, here's the name. And then now I'm like, oh, it is strange to me when people say his name back to me who I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's on me. So I'm like, oh, if I could undo time, I would probably not put his full legal name.
But don't you talk about him on your podcast? Like on my podcast, I talk about my kids, and so all my listeners will write and be like, "This is like," they'll send me a meme and be like, "This is so Rosie," and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." It's like it's out there. I don't know. I can't put the toothpaste back in there too. I guess
you absolutely can't, and it's like. It's one of those things where even as I hear all of us talking about it, it's like we're all sort of on the same page. And I feel the same way Josie does. And I've said this to my mom before. Like, if I start getting in the weeds on every single thing that could go wrong I would never
do anything.
I wouldn't even be in a house. I'd be in a
leave
safe
your house.
room with my child, like wrapped in a blanket, doing nothing. Like, you just can't go down that spiral. That being said, I know that I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's so subjective and it's so individual. Like, I'm also going to say it gets complicated by the different ways that anxiety manifests when you have children, when you are pregnant or a new mom, because you are kind of riding a hormonal wave, and in some ways it like increases the anxiety, and in some ways it makes, I don't know. So when I was pregnant this last time, I was so scared of like posting information about me being pregnant because I think I read too much about like somebody who had like killed a pregnant woman and taken the baby.
I mean, they do.
Yeah, people do. Yes.
Yeah.
I hosted a Lifetime podcast. That's every movie. Like, when I was giving birth, all these listeners were like, do not let Conrad out of your sight. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, you're right. I got to get him tagged.
Yeah.
I would just say people do that, but they also don't do that. You're like, the chances of something happening to you.
Yeah.
Like, most of the time, everything's fine. And I try, it's like so hard to remember that because, yes, worst case scenario could happen. But the reason we know, like, the reason we all know those stories about, like, you know, trying to cut a pregnant woman's baby out is because they're so rare. Like, it's so wild for that to happen, right?
And then the number one cause of death of pregnant women is murder.
By their partner.
And most abuse that happens to children happens by somebody that they know as well. It's like, we love, like, there's a lot of boogeyman satanic panic shit going on around child trafficking and that your kid's going to get grabbed off the street. And it's like, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I am saying that it is inflated.
Watch your neighbor.
Yeah. Like,
watch your neighbor.
Yeah, watch your neighbor, watch your relatives.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like, that's kind of more common.
Yeah,
in my line of work with the Law and Order SVU podcast.
Literally.
I've seen it all.
You're a hardened, basically a detective.
But then I will say, like, I talked to my friend who has a podcast that's about, like, missing and women and children. Jeez. And she was like, oh, you should never post your child online. Yeah. People will take their photo and edit it onto other things. And that was like, I was like, I never even thought about that. Yeah. Like, but again, what Megan was saying, we cannot control, like, the things that we cannot control, you know, in a lot of ways. Or, can't get obsessed over.
There's kind of a new, like, conversation around, like, the ethics of posting your kids, especially if you profit from posting your kids. There's a new law in Illinois that just went into effect that basically makes it so that if you are under 16 and your parents are profiting from posting you online, that you get a cut. It's like,
I love that.
Yeah.
I read about that. I was like, when is that coming to California?
Yeah. Go to Utah.
Yeah, get to Utah
needs to pass
ASAP.
that law.
That is totally what I think is, like, the unethical part of it, is, like, not the posting, but the like, intense kind of perpetuating an image that isn't actually real of the family. The ballerina farm, like, all of that posting to me is so much worse, because it seems like you are trying to encourage your child to pretend they live a life that they don't live. To me, that's worse than the, like, my kid took a dump on the floor. That's real. You know, it's like it's like the not real stuff that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. I remember reading something about, like, people went on a family trip and they were content creators, and the schedule, somehow, like, the schedule of what they needed to do was released. And it was like, this kid was having to make videos constantly. Right. And whether it's just them, like, sitting eating chicken nuggets by the pool, they're still being filmed so they can get a monetary gain, whether it's this trip for free. And it's like, there's a very big difference between, like, here is my kid going to first grade, and here is my kid, how can I make some money off of them doing something?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
TikTok dances and the like.
Yeah. You know, I was listening to a podcast about Ruby Franke.
Oh my God.
Mormon influencer in Utah who, it turns out, was, like, horrifically abusing her children. Yeah. And I've never been a fan of, like, family vloggers, because, you know, I like seeing my friends' kids. I like my relatives. You know, it's fun to, like, catch up and be like, oh, look, your son's looking so big. Like, that's so cool. But I don't really care that much about strangers' kids.
Why would I want to watch another family? I'm like, I have enough family
it's
here.
kind of like, like, Megan and I are Bravo sluts. Like, and I do like the moments where you see, like, a housewife with their kid. They're few and far between.
And
they're
mostly
barely
I'm like,
ever
get 'em off
on.
of here.
Yeah, it's like, I like a little moment where it's like Jaggy or whatever, and then we're done. Like, vloggers is like, that's the whole show.
Whole show.
And it's
bizarre.
It's too much.
Agreed.
I sometimes wonder if, like, the whole push to, like, in Utah specifically, because this is, like, very much a Utah thing, and I love a lot of things about the great state of Utah. There's a lot of things that are super weird about it. Do you think that it's, like, maybe a reflection of how hard it is systemically to, like, only have one parent work? Like, that these people want their living to be, like, staying at home and taking care of the kids. But
That's the rise of MLMs. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, woman, you're going to be in the house, so find another income stream. And I do think that, like, Utah is a microcosm for, like, traditional wife. And now we have the internet in our hands constantly.
Well, there's going to be a new show called, like, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and the main woman on there went viral for doing a TikTok dance in front of her baby on a ventilator in the hospital.
Yeah.
what?
With
Yes,
RSV.
when her baby-
like,
yeah.
It's we're living in
Yes,
idiocracy.
That woman has a show. That woman has a show.
Okay, well, I guess I don't really feel bad about not
It's
having
like
a
her
show.
being like doing like the moves, and like the caption is like, baby's gonna hopefully get off the respirator soon. Like, it's so crazy.
Oh my God. Another thing that's sort of I try not to do when I'm posting. Even though when kids do bad stuff, it's like funny. Like the other day, my 2-month-old was laying there kind of like cooing and stuff, and she looked at me straight in the eyes and then just like took a huge dump.
Ripped it.
Yeah, and it was like so loud and so gross, and it was just like, man, I have to post about this. This is so funny. But then there's also like these one of the things that they showed in like the family vlog 8 Passengers, which is the Ruby Frankie vlog, was like kids crying, kids upset. Like, do you think that there's like kind of anything wrong morally with posting that kind of thing, or do you think it's okay?
I mean, I'm not posting that much video content, to be honest. Like, I'm really kind of a stills gal, but I don't know. Like, who wants to see a kid crying?
Okay, I have to say, I think it is bad, and also I have totally done it because my daughter is so crazy.
Yeah.
Her tantrums are so next level that I have been like, you guys have to see this. Like, it's so, this is what I live with every day. But I am, while I'm doing it, I feel kind of bad.
But the thing is like it's probably over them not getting
the
like
context.
the right thing,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, totally.
It's not because like
someone hurt their
Yeah,
feelings.
yeah.
No, it is like
everything's context.
Conrad
yeah.
was holding an American flag in full Mario pajamas with headphones on, screaming, crying because he wanted the fireworks to be inside. And it's like, well, that's insane. But if it had been like CJ yelled at Conrad, look at him cry. Like,
right.
But
This is what happens when you piss off dad.
Right,
Like, no.
right.
we all know that as normal people, but so much context is lost when you transfer from normal person brain to Instagram.
Yeah.
So had any of you watched the eight
Passengers?
Have any of you watched it before?
Oh wait, there's a doc.
No,
No,
like
the
the
vlog,
blog.
like
the
Oh, the
blog.
vlog. No. I never watched it till she became famous.
My sister watched it a lot. Apparently, I had never even heard of it, but she was like, I used to watch them all the time, and it's like kind of crazy how everybody just thought this was normal. Like, in some ways, you're kind of like showing other people what parenthood is. If like my sister doesn't have kids, she's like, I guess I just sort of thought this was like normal parenting, and now I'm like,
But then
what the
that
fuck?
woman also like, isn't her #1 video like her taking her 12-year-old training bra shopping? It's like you're dog whistling to pedophiles.
so weird,
Like
yeah.
it was,
And
it's like her #1 video, and you're like, nope, this is just normal. Like I don't know, that's.
I do think there are valuable tools of like, oh, I'm also going through this, or
Yeah.
like, show me a crock pot, but to bring the child with you, like it's like, go bra shopping, or like, I honestly don't watch the videos because all their homes are so clean and well decorated.
Same.
And
It makes me
feel
so
bad
depressed.
that I'm
Same.
just like, get your damn
Yeah.
white waterfall fucking counter out of here.
I know. I have that same reaction.
It's not the same as like a family vlog, but I follow this little girl, and I've been seeing a lot of press about her lately too. Her account is My ARFID Life, and she's like a girl that has ARFID, which is like, it's basically like an eating disorder for little kids. Like she doesn't eat, she has a fear of a lot of foods. Mm-hmm. So I started following it because my daughter is extremely picky. I wouldn't say it's like to that level, but she's extremely picky. And I showed her a couple of the videos, and for like a week, it helped her try some new foods. And she was like, take a video of me. And then my daughter would go put it on Instagram. And I wasn't doing it. I didn't do that. I go, okay, put it on. It's on. Whoa, many hits.
blowing up.
Yeah. Like, but she like saw this girl. And so I think what that woman who is her mom eventually like was like, oh, this is helping her. And people are also like, I've been seeing a lot of sort of blowback on it. Like, is this ethical that like your daughter is on social media with 1 million followers, I think, all checking out her, like she just tries new foods basically. And then people heap judgment on what she's eating because like a lot of her safe foods are processed foods, and people are like, oh my God. And it's,
It's so bad.
my
But
God.
this
Got an
exact
opinion.
thing, my kid also is really picky, and I also followed this account to show him like that other kids have this thing, and that way it's like very valuable, right?
Yes.
But I can imagine
like that
as
girl
the
has a
mom.
catchprise. Yeah.
Yeah.
That girl has a catchphrase that's, here I go, every time she takes a bite. And my daughter's catchphrase was, let's give it a go. I was like, wow, we're going to be a cheater brand in like 3 seconds.
right.
Well, there was a report in the New York Times like earlier this year that has like haunted me, and it was about the fans of girl, like little girl Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that like is really hard to control for, because the New York Times report found that Meta is really, really bad at keeping pedophilic behavior.
Meta?
Yeah.
Our Lord's Meta.
I know.
Not
I can't,
Mark Zuckerberg.
No, he's usually so normal and
On top of the
smart
pedophiles.
and good. But they found that a lot of the algorithm was like if you liked a picture of like a little girl in a leotard and then went like
Oh, there you go.
the algorithm would steer you toward other photos of like little girls in leotards. And so it was basically just like a playground for people who wanted to look at pictures that sort of weren't intended to be titillating.
Right.
But that were viewed that way regardless, and people were like ripping photos from Insta. It's pretty crazy. So for me, after I read that, I was like, I can't. There are certain things that I just am not going to post, even if I think it's like cute, like eating stuff for her. I just don't want to do that. Like it's like there's a really funny picture of her like running in a bathing suit, and I wanted to post it, but she's wearing a bathing suit, and I'm like, do I want to like pixelate her like legs? Like and it sucks that you have to think that way. You almost feel like you have to think like a pervert and be like, is there a way that this picture could be used?
Yeah.
Do you guys go through that too?
Yeah, well, like on their private account, I have a picture of them in the bath at one point. You can't see any genitalia, but my daughter's not wearing a shirt. But it's like that's only going to people that know that. And I was like, one time I was like, is this child pornography? Like, am I allowed to put this on the internet? So yeah, I'm definitely thinking about it. And then it's like there's this whole rabbit hole of like now there's AI child sex abuse images. And now there's like, so people are pulling images from all kinds of places, but they're also making up children that don't exist for these things. So I don't know what we're all supposed to be doing. I really don't. I think you should be able to post your daughter in a bathing suit.
Yeah, I know.
But I get where your hesitation is coming from.
Yeah.
It's also interesting because sometimes I, try and take cues from, we are all friends. We all live in the same sort of area. Our kids are together. I'm like, okay, that's what we do. Okay, I'll make a private account and then I'll never update it. But like people's like rules for themselves, and this is totally fine, are so hypocritical. Like I know someone who like will not post their child's face, and it's like, got it, don't care. Like you go off, and then like has posted their child from the back nude. And I'm like, well, that is,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That one confuses me. Full butt, fine.
Totally fine.
Face,
Right.
Them on a jungle gym, no.
Yeah, and so sometimes it's hard to track, and like that's just like something that you go, oh well, now I get to just like make fun of this person behind their back. But like they're even like people that I know very closely, it'll be like, well, you can post their initials, but not, and it's like, okay, like I'm willing to do whatever, but people, it's truly like a true detective.
We know,
What?
somebody who like posts their child and always puts an emoji over the face, but it'll just be the parent and the kid with the emoji, and it's like, don't post the picture.
Don't post it.
Don't post that picture. If it's your kid in a big group and you want to show the scene, but you don't want your kid's face, I got it. But like just you and your kid, and you're like enjoying the like. I don't know. I don't get the point of that.
Yeah.
Wait,
know?
was it Jared? Was it your husband?
Jared, my husband started doing it.
He posted
He was
a
making
picture
fun of that person
with an emoji over his face and not on the kid's face.
Yes.
Which I thought was very funny. I was like, there's a story behind
Yeah,
this.
he's been doing, and it's based on that.
And it's like everyone should do whatever they feel comfortable with, especially when it comes to children.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I have a little boy, but like little boys are also, just because the New York Times article didn't focus on that, he has nipples, and it's like no one's ever going to see his nipples on the internet. Like you're just not going to see my son's nipples, and that makes you want to unfollow me. There's the door.
Right.
Yeah.
Please unfollow
Shannon
me.
Bedore.
There's the door Shannon Bedore.
Right.
Yeah, there's definitely like a trust your gut thing about it,
Yeah.
but then I think sometimes I feel like the goalposts of our gut is always moving because of technology and all these things we're discovering, like we're finding out. But I think also this is so separate. This is almost like a fully separate issue than like putting your child to work on the internet. It's almost like different than vacation photos.
Well, it's also just kind of fascinating that like none of the seal is broken on our kids like being able to not be on the internet. Like, I think about that New York article that Gia Tolentino wrote about like how she tried to hide her pregnancy from her phone, her second pregnancy. So like,
Oh yeah, so interesting.
so she was like not
That
trying not to like
is-
buy anything like buy anything on her phone because like, you know, she understood that like that's how you get marketed to once you like search for the crib, right? So she like paid in cash. She like didn't pay. Basically was like really trying hard to make it so her second kid could exist away from the internet if possible. And it's kind of a fascinating idea because it seems to me like my kids will never be able to not be on the internet. Like even if I never post them again, they've existed on there before. They're known, like their existence is there. And it's I don't know if I know anybody really who's been able to totally avoid that.
I think probably like bunker people.
Yeah, bunker people.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is funny because Utah also has a lot of bunkers.
Of course. So you're either like a full TikTok 7-figure child or you're in a bunker.
Yeah, that's it. Those are the two choices in Utah.
Right.
I have a friend who's completely off the internet. She's not on Instagram or any social media. So like when I see her kids live, I'm always like, oh wow, you've grown.
Witness protection program. Witness protection program.
No, she lives in New York City. I mean, like it's crazy.
Live.
Yeah. When I see, I'm like, wow, you've grown in the past, like, you know, few months.
It is too like I was talking to someone and they were like, I don't like believe in children, you know, having children. And I was like, got it, you know, like totally get it.
I don't believe in having children.
I don't believe in having children. I was like, you know, global warming, you know, I'm like going through the like that.
Got it.
And then they go, no, it's because children cannot consent to being born.
What?
And I was like, that is true, but also okay.
They can't consent to you wiping their asses, but you have to do it.
There are so many things my kids
so
don't consent to that's like not even the beginning of like.
Yeah.
I tell you what to do all the time.
I don't consent to being hit in the face with a sippy cup. You know, like it's like okay, and like that is valid, and like that works for you. But like that is the thing of just you're gonna meet so many different people that have so many different viewpoints, and as long as you're just not trying to like leech off your own child on the internet, I feel like you're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think, though, that it's not fair to say that you're not getting something, even if you're not getting money from posting your kid on the internet. Like, get a lot of likes for posting pictures of cute little kids.
Yeah.
And there used to be this woman that I was friends with from home on Facebook who just was always posting, like, and she had, like, you know, she'd get like 30 likes or something, but it's like she's doing this because she's getting validation from
Some
it.
kind of,
And I just wish maybe there was a way for parents to find validation that wasn't that like, you know, cocaine button of like, like likes.
I'll be honest, the private account I use for my kids is like a history book for me. Like I'm like, when did Rosie walk? And I like scroll back to the post I put when she walked. Like for me, it's like a documentation of like when things are happening, but that's also a private one.
When I post Conrad on Instagram, I know that I was like, I wish his name wasn't out there and I keep saying it. I lose followers usually because a lot of my followers are like reply guys that are like, this isn't what we came for. What happened to the hot lady? Now she's just posting this little baby? Gross.
She got a haircut. She's a lot shorter than she used to be.
And so sometimes I'll be like, listen, I got to post a thirst trap. So my reply guys come back after all this damn mom content.
I was wondering, Erin, for you, like, I think because I'm always opinionated on the internet too and have like a lot of, like, I feel like I can be, I feel one-dimensional sometimes on social media. And it does feel like it humanizes me in some ways that like people, like there's this one prosecutor in Arizona who replies to a lot of the stuff I write and hates me, as most prosecutors do. When I post pictures of my kids, he's like, adorable, so sweet. Like,
oh my God,
like,
that's
she's
so funny.
They're growing up so fast. And I'm like, oh, this is like that to me seems a benefit to me, where suddenly people remember that I'm a real person.
Josie, honestly, same.
Right.
Yes, same. After I had Juniper, my older daughter, I got so many congrats from like full-on Republicans.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, they're like, you're doing your womanly duty. Congrats.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, and it's also like, oh, now we have a thing in common because we
Totally.
both have kids.
Yeah.
And so we can't like really get like super personal and mad at each other because like, I know what you're going through. You know what I'm going through. We both got kids.
I'm like
100%.
obsessed with your mortal enemies, like doing heart eye emojis on pictures of your kids.
It's so
on Instagram.
fascinating.
That's like so funny.
It's so fascinating. And it's really like,
It's really funny.
there's one guy who's always like, my kids are grown up now. Like, it's so sad. You know, like there is something kind of universal about this like parenting thing. Although I think it also, like you said, makes is ostracizing to other people. Like I have a ton of friends, as I'm sure you all do, who, you know, are having trouble conceiving, and like it's there's also a really, I think, hurtful part of it sometimes of posting kids, but you know, it is really funny how it has like made me much more approachable, or like much more three-dimensional to some people who did not see me that way before.
Right.
Like JD Vance.
Like JD Vance.
Exactly. JD Vance is the one who's always messaging. No, I'm just kidding.
I had my kid for him.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. It's all for him. Let's finally admit it.
It's all for you. That's,
that's
the
a
Janet
song
Jackson
for JD.
song.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
JD.
Let's license it.
All right. Well, we're all going to post pictures and tag JD.